What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with another piece from a J-drama score / soundtrack. And we're going to go back to the score from Angels and Demons, or Tenshi to Akuma. It's a 2015 show. It's a police procedural, or more formally, a detective show. And yet it has a very specific nuance to it, meaning it's a show that centers on using plea bargains, which in the Japanese justice system are relatively new. They were long frowned upon because it was seen as letting someone who did something wrong get away with it in order to get a more directly responsible criminal behind bars, and that was seen as not honorable. But again, I think in more recent years, plea bargains have found their way into the Japanese legal system. In any case, the point is, it's a detective drama, but with a very specific quirk, and it draws together two of my favorite actors who both were in Kurakochi. I just did a reaction to a tune from that soundtrack not too long ago, but Goriki Ayame and Watabe Atsuro. And in this one, they play two detectives, or rather, Goriki Ayame's character is formally a detective, or rather she works with the police. She starts as a detective, but is sort of demoted in the very beginning of the show, and she gets sort of put in a cold case division, like archiving data and, sort of processing old cases that never got solved. And Watabe Atsuro's character is a lawyer who's brought in, and there's a bit of an unknown about his past, which is sort of revealed a bit over the course of the show, but he's an older fellow, and he's cynical about people, and he doesn't believe what people say, and it's shown that oftentimes he's right, because he makes the point that, yeah, you've never heard someone tell a lie before. That's what happens when you start asking them questions about old events that people don't want to talk about, as people give you false information. Whereas Goriki Ayame's character is an optimist, and she really wants to believe people, and in some cases she is actually right as well, and she's much younger, so the dynamic between them is that there's, this old cynical lawyer and a young, eager and optimistic police employee. Again, she's sort of a detective, sort of not, but they start working on cold cases, and through the use of plea bargains, initially mostly from Chajima, which is Watabe Atsuro's character, and eventually through Goriki Ayame's character, Makita, they unravel events which, again, a lot of people don't want to talk about. In some cases, were very perplexing, and, no one was able to figure out what happened. So it's a really cool show. I enjoy it a lot, and it's one of those shows that each episode is kind of its own island. I suppose there's a little bit of a longer arc storyline that evolves over the course of the show, but it's pretty minor. It's really just like 9 independent cases, and it has a wonderful soundtrack with both deeply painful and emotional music all the way up to very energetic and driving action-type music, and it's done by Hayashi Yuki, and I've told the story a number of times, so I'll be quick, but he was originally a gymnast at university, and he began making music for his university gymnastics program, and realized he had a bit of a talent for it, and eventually started making music for other schools' gymnastic programs, and by the time he was finished with college, he realized my real future is music, and so he went into that full time and makes scores for movies and TV shows and so on. In any case, we're going to listen to a tune called Hide and Seek, which is actually written in English. This is one of those J-drama soundtracks where there's tracks that are written in both kanji, or in some cases katakana, and also in English, and this is one that's written fully in English. And obviously Hide and Seek, it's about, deception, or finding a place where you won't be noticed by others and using that to your advantage. I think this piece is often played somewhere in the middle of these cases / episodes, in that it's often at a point where the two investigators have some information, but not enough to make any firm conclusions or to know for sure who committed a particular crime in the past. I think Luca is going to contribute to this discussion. So I think it's a very fitting piece, because sonically there's a bit of mystery to it, but there's also a bit of energy, there's a bit of momentum, so maybe the idea is that at this point, when it is played, again, somewhere in the middle of episodes, it's at a time when the two investigators have begun to unravel things, but there's still more data to find. There's still more hidden testimony that maybe they can draw out with the use of a plea bargain. So it's a good in the middle of the case kind of track. Let's hear it. This is Hayashi Yuki from his soundtrack for the J-drama show from 2015, Angels and Demons, or Tenshi to Akuma, and the track is called, in English, Hide and Seek. Like a ticking clock. Like a reverse melody, like a melody that's being back cued on a record. Going back in time, maybe. There's a lot going on there conceptually. There's that deep and brooding bass, which maybe my brain is inclined to see as the dark secret underlying what actually happened that they're trying to uncover. I mentioned there's that ticking, like second hand on a clock sound, keeping the time, which speaks to maybe the limited window to uncover what happened in these old cases. That melody, which sounds like it's being reversed, like back cued on a record, going back in time. There's those voices, not only that muted choral layer, which sounds like this big dramatic chorus, not unlike the Crisis soundtrack, but in the background and sort of submerged, which maybe speaks to the drama, but it's buried under time and discretion or secrecy. There's like these like very brief and subtle like whispered or like spoken voices that are also seemingly like reversed or somehow like covered in a way. So it sounds like voices and talking and drama, but in time and obscured by ambiguity and the difficulty of uncovering things. So it does feel like there's a lot going on conceptually, and I think it all works well. It has a bit of like, maybe not a hip-hop rhythm, but it has that kind of syncopated driving but not crazy fast or energetic type of rhythm to it. I very much enjoy the pondering feel it has, the trying to figure out what's going on. So I think there's a lot that fits with the scenes and the episodes if you've seen the show. But even if you haven't, I think it's a compelling and sonically well-configured track. So again, shout out to Hayashi Yuki, shout out to both Goriki Ayame and Watabe Atsuro. I think they're both great, and there's a lot of good guest performances along the way as well. So do let me know what you think of this piece, and Luca and I will see you next time. A little leg stretch. Peace.